Good afternoon. It's time already for Chapter 11 from The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, and this chapter is The Wonderful Emerald City of Oz. So let's start with our first vocabulary word, and our first word is pavement. They walked over a pavement of the same green marble, and where the blocks were joined together were a row of emeralds set closely and glittering in the brightness of the sun. So right now they're in the Emerald City, and everything is green, including the pavement, and it's got green marble and there's even emeralds on it. So it's much nicer than this road, but pavement means road. So just think of this as green with jewels, green jewels in it. That would be what the road at the Emerald City looks like. The next one is tint. The window panes were of green glass. Even the sky above the city had a green tint, and the rays of sun were green. And so tint means pale shade. So here's some tinting, and you can see the difference um, in the picture. Next, we have demand. Here are strangers, said the guardian of the gates to him, and they demand to see the great Oz. And so demand is ask, but usually I've got to have it. And so this little boy kind of looks like I want something really bad. Next is counterpane. It was the sweetest little room in the world, with a soft, comfortable bed that had sheets of green silk and a green velvet counterpane. And counterpane is a bedspread or like a quilt. And so, again, it's one of those older terms that we don't really use anymore. We would call it something like a quilt or a comforter. So that's what a counterpane is. Next is meek. I am Dorothy, the small and meek. And meek means humble and not proud. Um, at this point, she's talking to the wizard and she feels very small around him because he is the great and he calls himself the great and terrible. But in the movie, we also know him as the great and powerful. So she feels very small and very shy almost towards him. The next word is weep. The little girl began to weep. She was so much disappointed, and the eyes winked again and looked up upon her anxiously, as if the great Oz felt that she could help him if she would. And weep means cry, so here's a little baby with a tear crying. Next, we have astonished. Now, the Scarecrow, who had expected to see the great head Dorothy had told him of, was much astonished, but he answered her bravely. So, astonished means amazed or surprised. So, this boy looks very surprised by something he sees. And in this part of the book, Dorothy had seen the wizard in the form of just a head floating. But the Scarecrow actually sees a beautiful um, woman there in front of him, so not the same head that Dorothy saw. And we find out later that each person sees a different thing um, as the powerful Oz. Dominions. Therefore I have no brains, and I come to you praying that you will put brains in my head instead of straw, so that I may become as much a man as any other in your dominions. And dominions means land, like the land that you own. So here's a game where you try and get places, and so these are like all the red is the lands or dominions that one person um, has and owns, and the green is another person's. So that's what a dominion is. So he wants to be like the as much of a man and as smart as anybody else in Oz. Next is bestow. If you kill for me the wicked witch of the west, I will bestow upon you a great many brains, and such good brains that you will be the wisest man in all the land of Oz. And bestow means to give, and so this is actually a vase, but it looks like a hand giving somebody flowers. So I thought that was kind of cool. Next we have terror. It was fortunate the Woodman had no heart at that moment, for it would have beat loud and fast from terror. And terror means extreme fear, so this baby looks very frightened. impatient or scared. Next, we have gruffly. Oz gave a low growl at this, but said gruffly, "If you indeed desire a heart, you must earn it." So, gruffly means an impatient but not complete unkindly manner of speech. So, he's kind of exhausted. He's just like, "Fine, if you really want a heart, okay, but you gotta earn it." Um, so I put a picture of Gru here because he was kind of gruff and seemed a little impatient sometimes when he talked. And our final word is fiercely. The ball of fire burned fiercely for a time, and the voice said, strong. Um, the voice said something else, sorry. But fiercely means strongly and intensely. So it burned really bright, really hot. But fiercely can also be an animal or, and so here you see this, and it looks very, very strong and like it's gonna so that would be fiercely. Well, those are our words for today. Thanks for joining us, and we'll be back with words for tomorrow.